Hello, and welcome to an overview of social media and website analytics by HelloSquare. In this video, we'll provide you with an overview of social media and website analytics, as well as their respective platforms. We'll go into detail onto key metrics that matter for each platform, as well as how to set relevant goals for your organization. We will then take you through the best ways to track progress against those goals, as well as how to report on them on an ongoing basis. Websites and social media platforms track user actions that occur within them. This data is accessible through each platform's respective analytics platform. Understanding this data can provide you with key insights into your stakeholders' engagements with your own digital platforms, as well as related trends. Critically, this data can be highly relevant to organizational objectives that relate to communication, engagement, education, or reaching out to a particular community or set of individuals. Having access to this data can be useful in its own right, but ideally it should be contextualized in relation to your goals for each web-based platform. For example, if an organizational objective is to drive awareness of intervention activities, you could look at your website analytics or sessions on pages that are relevant to those interventions. Or on social media, you could look for engagement on posts or content that are relevant to those interventions. Both would indicate that the general public is engaging with that content and gaining an understanding of those activities. Each platform has its own unique set of metrics and related data. It is important to understand what each one represents to you as an organization. Google Analytics tracks user behavior on your website. The following are some of the most important metrics to track on Google Analytics. A user is defined as an independent device visiting your website. What this means is that if a user visits your website both on their mobile device and on their desktop computer, that will count as 2 users. Users is a good metric for tracking the overall exposure of your site to the public. A session is a set of interactions on your website within a fixed time frame by a single user. This session time frame is usually determined by your website or web hosting server. A large number of sessions could indicate repeat visits by single users back to your website to repeatedly engage with the site. Source indicates the origin of the user on your site. For example, the user could have originated from a Google search or from a link on Facebook. This is relevant to determine where your incoming traffic and users are coming from, possibly from sources that you may not even be aware of. Acquisition represents how these users reached your website. For example, through paid advertisement or perhaps through organic Google search results. Medium is a more generalized version of source, indicating a broad category of origin of a user. For example, social media or online search. Pages per session indicates the average number of pages a user will visit on your website within a fixed session. A high number of pages per session will indicate that users are generally highly engaged with the content on your website. Bounce rate represents the percentage of users who enter your website, view a single page, and then leave. All of this data can be sliced in a variety of different ways. For example, you could view your users from a particular country, or your bounce rate on a particular piece of content. By grouping metrics in this way, you can create reports that are relevant to your organization's actual goals. The following are some of the most important metrics to track on social media. Content reach represents the number of people who have seen a particular piece of content, such as a post on Instagram or Facebook. Impressions represents the number of times a particular piece of content has been seen. This includes multiple viewings by the same people. Engagement represents the number of times a person has interacted with your content on social media. For example, liking or sharing a post. Likes and follows represent the number of people who have opted into future communications from you on a social media platform. For example, if someone likes your page on Facebook, they're opting into receiving future content from you. It's critical to be able to connect these metrics to what your users are really doing. This will allow you to derive insights into their behavior. For example, if we look at the metrics relating to users, reach, and impressions, we can broadly say that these metrics relate to users viewing your content, your website, or your social media platforms. We can compare this with engagement. Engagement indicates user action against your content. In order to engage with a piece of content, a user generally will have understood it enough to feel the need to interact with it. This means that engagement is a good indicator of a user getting a strong understanding of your message. You can follow this simple process to ensure that you set relevant goals. Firstly, identify organizational objectives that relate to public engagement, education, or communication. Secondly, identify what aspects of social media or your website that can assist in meeting those objectives. Finally, list out social media and website metrics that are relevant to each of those objectives. You can now track progress against these metrics to identify your progress in meeting these overall goals. All major web platforms have an analytics platform that you can access to quickly track your progress against these objectives. For example, you can track website metrics on Google Analytics or Facebook metrics on Facebook Insights. In addition, many of these platforms will allow you to automate the reporting process. When reporting on analytical data, you should always ensure your report contains the following: a mixture of data and contextual analysis to provide meaning to the reader, reinforcement between the metrics and your objectives, information on trends or events that may have affected the results of this report. Finally, you should always include recommendations on how to improve for the next round of reporting. In conclusion, understanding these metrics will allow you to grow and develop your online communication platforms. They will also allow you to derive insights into the public perception of your organization and its activities, as well as to measure the effect of your engagement with the public.